The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
It's been contrasting worlds between the PRL's GTE and Radical Leagues that we cover here on GSRC. While Tuesday nights have been a one-man show, Thursday nights have given us some fantastic unpredictability and surprise winners in the first two rounds. Will tonight see more of the same, or will we finally see a major player come to the fore? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Thursday series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Doug Beard. Taylor, Road Atlanta is going to be a wild ride with these cars tonight. Tell our viewers a little bit about this place so that they understand the difficulty facing our drivers.
Of course, and welcome everyone to Road Atlanta, or now the new name, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Located in Braselton, Georgia, USA, this 12-turn, 2.5-mile, 4-kilometer circuit is one of the crown jewels of endurance sports car racing with the famous 10 hours of Petit Le Mans. Drivers are going to be having to case on this roller coaster type track with extreme precision as well as extreme consistency in order to survive this track. To give you, the viewer, to see what it is like to take on the tight corners and twists and turns and unpredictability, let's hop on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Stefan Schlacker and the GSRC Radical, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Down into turn 1, most tracks offer good passing at the first corner, but not this one. It's fast, and having any sort of off is likely to end in damage. But you're quickly climbing up a steep hill, and at the blind crest is turn 3. This is one of the most difficult corner entries in racing, so expect a lot of unforced errors from drivers through here. The track then immediately flows into the S's, where it's flat out in the Radical. But at the end of it is turn 5, where you get a lot of compression on the way in, and then no grip on the way out. This is by far the spot you'll most often see races ended. You finally get a short break before turn 6, which, even though you might sometimes see passes into it, the car carries far more speed than you'd expect with its banking. It also takes you directly into 7, which is the most important corner of the lap. With it being low speed, finding grip will be difficult, but critical because of the long backstretch that follows it. Get a bad run onto here and expect to get swallowed up by anybody close behind. The draft will also bring about a number of battles, and drivers are going to be hungry to get by. This is all helped by the heavy braking into the final chicane, where anyone side by side will have to play a game of chicken. And yet, the fight's usually not over as you come out of it, because you'll often see drivers use a switchback to carry their speed and retake the position up and over the hill. But as you round the final corner, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Road Atlanta. There you see a lap around Road Atlanta, and boy, what he talks about, when Taylor talks about the roller coaster aspect, that onboard should hopefully give you a really good idea of what he means by that. Now, this race, as always, is brought to you by HFD1 Motorsports, one of the teams that competes here, and they've decided to sponsor this full season. So big thank you goes to them for bringing this Thursday Radical Series up onto the big screen here with the Global SimRacing Channel. We've had 2 races now this season so far, 2 different winners, but our winner from the first round has been the more consistent. So, of course, we still have Curlin Andrew as our leader in the points. Mark Feil, though, has been pretty consistent himself, even though he hasn't had a win. So that jumps him up 3 positions and only 9 points away from Curlin Andrew as well. Michael Overbay, who won last round, 14 positions up. Look at that. And well within striking range, but he should be looking over his shoulder because look at Matthew Gunderson, only 1 point separating him as well. Gunderson sandwiched between 2 more drivers right behind him, tied for 5th. So incredibly tight up at the top because of all the different permutations we've seen in the first 2 rounds as far as finishing order. What about the team championship? Has it done similar for that, Taylor?
In fact, it's even more tighter than the Drivers' Championship. Right now, on the top of the leaderboard is going to be Banana Split Racing with Andrews and Duchesne, but only by 1 point over Fraley's Auto Body Race Team. The Cash for Crash team is only 7 points behind in the 3rd position, followed by BO Racing, with the Overbay team doing an excellent job, gaining 4 positions in the last round. And then rounding out your top 5 is the HFD1 Motorsport team, who lost several positions after that last race at Tsukuba.
Of course, if you've never watched this series before, hopefully the onboards that we've been getting don't sway your opinion too much. We've seen a number of drivers have offs here in qualifying. We'll get to that in a second, because first we want to give you the race details of what you're about to watch. As we mentioned, we are in round 3, and of course they have a couple drop weeks to worry about here in the series. If we could bring that graphic up, there we go. The setups are open on these cars. That'll be very important around this track where they've got long straights and a lot of twisty bits as well. So you got to find that good compromise. They have restricted the fuel for this Radical car. So that means that you can expect 1 scheduled pit stop for fuel for them in the 45-minute race. They also have an incident cap at 24 incidents. You'll be disqualified, and there is no spare car waiting for you. So if you have damage at any point during the race, your only recourse is to go in and get repairs. Hopefully that happens before your pit stop and not after, or else you're coming in extra unscheduled time. And as you saw just a bit ago, if you enjoy this, definitely subscribe to the iRacing eSports Network. They obviously have brought us on here, not just in the GTEs for PRL, but now in the Radicals too, which I have greatly enjoyed. They have all kinds of racing as well, not just the PRL series, but the World Championship series. And on GSRC, we present you a number of vintage series here. So make sure and hit that big red subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment on GSRC. Qualifying, as I mentioned, already taking place. As we look at that, Jefferson Padavani currently leads the top. Michael Overbay is sitting in 2nd in qualifying. Where is Kenny Duval? Duval's well down there. So he's got a little bit of work to do, but he's got a number of minutes left here, Taylor. So I think we've got time before we could see him up at the 4. In the meantime, why don't you tell us about the keys to the race and what will help him hopefully get to a win finally after 2 poles.
Yes, indeed. One of the biggest things here for the PRL Radical Series is going to be that start. We've seen for the past 2 weeks the pole sitter having terrible starts, so making sure that you are able to get the car going when the green lights show is going to be a major key to getting up towards the front, staying in the lead, or for some of those drivers even taking the lead, as we saw last week. Another thing is watch out for the curbs. These curbs are very treacherous, especially coming out of the S's when you're coming up on that major uphill climb. Got to be so careful with that, because that is very difficult and very easy to lose the car through that section of the track. And then, of course, also making sure you have your car set up for this long and difficult part. You're going uphill, downhill, of course, making right and left corners. So you got to have that perfect balance in order to maintain that proper speed and proper stability in order to survive this track. I mean, Joe, this track is just by far one of the most difficult, but yet one of the most favorite tracks here on the iRacing service.
Padovani, we see on screen, our current pole sitter, has come across for another lap. His last one was the fastest at a 15.5. This time across, it does not count. Must have had an off somewhere. A couple spots where that's easy to do. He's being trailed directly by the car in second. And I say that, I mean physically, literally being trailed by him right now. Overbay, who is 2/10 behind, car in front of them having a little bit of off. That's probably McManus, unfortunately finding the wall. But Overbay has got some work to do. He's got Kip Stevens less than 10th back from him, actually barely 100th behind him in qualifying at the moment. So Stevens could yet topple him. And his last lap not going to do that for Kip Stevens as he crosses the line and does not go faster. So Duval's the one we've been wanting to watch. And Kenny Duval, this has just really been the story of his first two races this season, squandering fantastic qualifying and actually causing a few problems in the process, especially for himself in the second race where he wound up actually getting into some trouble and wrecked out early on. Michael Overbay is going to complete this next lap. He's been bumped down to third because Enzo Musalia just took first place. As Overbay crosses the line, he does not go any faster. He stays about 2/10 back from Padovani and half a second back from Enzo. Christian Gritzko, one of our drivers who seems to have found some pace. He was in the mid-pack the past couple races, but look at him now. He's looking at a potential top 5. He sits in 6th at the moment with a 1:15.9. In the meantime, what happened to File there?
Looks like he abandoned his lap or decided to pull it away.
Yeah, not sure exactly what happened. He does have enough time to get back out. There's some quick laps around here. Now, mercifully, Taylor, it's not as short of a lap as we had at Tsukuba, but do you foresee drivers having to deal with traffic in the same way as we did there, where it'll be a bit of a headache and a little bit of a management problem?
Yeah, especially for, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of these lap back markers will give way to our leaders when that time comes. Looking at the time from their fastest time with Enzo going all the way down to Gary Schilling, you're looking at about a 5 to 6 second difference between those two. And so it will be not as quick as we saw last round, but we will see lap traffic coming into play towards the end of this 45-minute race. So drivers are going to have to be careful and pick and choose when to make those passes, because here it's a little bit more difficult to where to pick that opportune time to make a pass on lap traffic. Actually, just making a pass here, period, especially going down the S's. It may look simple enough, but it can be one of the most challenging sections of the track to try and make a pass.
This is Wildridge we're watching now, the Hoosier currently sitting in 9th. On screen, we saw Overbay go off at turn 1. I think he should have enough time to get back around to start a lap. And we didn't see it on screen, but Kenny Duval did the same. Duval's only in 7th right now, so this track does not seem to suit him very well as we watch Wildridge work his way down the backstretch. Let's see if he can jump himself up a little bit higher within the top 10.
Wildridge doing quite well this season, had some really good runs. Currently, the Club Indiana driver is making his way down towards turn 10 and A and B. This is a good area to make a good passing opportunity, but there's also a lot of danger in this section. You don't really want to go 2 by 2 in that section. You want to try and complete the pass as quick as you can before you go into the turn 10 A and B section of the course, because I remember seeing several races here, Joe, where we've seen contact and several major implications for drivers that have made contact at that section.
Absolutely. So we switch over to Padovani, who's just started another lap. Last one was his warm-up lap, so this is his last chance to try and improve from 3rd place. I can report that Kenny Duval did the same last time by. Did not count because it was an out lap, but he did start his final flying lap. As the clock ticks down with about 30 seconds to go, drivers rushing to try and get this last go in. Checking to see who looks like they might be the first across the line to finish things out and get the checkered flag. I want to say it's Christian Gritzko who's going to be it. Right on board with Padavani, who's actually just behind Gritzko. And Wildridge as well. So here comes Gritzko. He's currently sitting in 5th place, not doing too bad today. As he crosses a 15.7, that's enough to bump him to 4th. Padavani is just ahead of him, but Padavani jumps to the pole with a 15.1. Here's Kip Stevens. Oh, actually, let's go ahead of Kip Stevens. It's Duval just in front of him. Remember, this is our pole sitter for the first 2 rounds. Struggling here today. What does he get on his last time across? Not faster, a 16.4. 7th place for Kenny Duval. A shocker.
Looks like Kip Stevens kind of off somewhere as we go on and see Huffstetler now as he's coming his way towards the start-finish line, making his run down to turn 10A and B. Under the Mazda bridge they go. This is going to see if he's able to get a good run through here, make sure it's nice and smooth through this section. He's currently 14th for the Georgia driver. Been having a really difficult round last week at Tsukuba. Had some offset as well as a major incident. Looks nice and smooth through this section of turn 10. Joey, he might be able to improve if he's able to keep it nice and smooth to turn 11 and 12.
Let's see what he's got. He does improve. It's a 16.2. Looks like it does not jump him up in position. Poor Charles. Yeah, he got a punt from behind last round at the very first lap, and that really set the tone for a miserable race for him. But that means qualifying is now over, so let's go through our starting grid for today. Jefferson Padavani, at the last moment, finds himself at the top spot, starting from pole. Enzo Massalia seems to like this track, having put it into 2nd place on the front row. Michael Overbay will be 3rd, with the 2nd row completed by Christian Gritzko in 4th. Kip Stevens, another good run from him. He was showing well at Spa. He'll start from 5th today. Eric Luke will start 6th with Kenny Duval. Let's hope he races a little bit better today, starting from 7th. Owen McLaughlin starts P8. Paul Wildridge 9th, and Curlin Andrew rounds out the top 10, looking typical for him.
Starting in the 11th position will be Eric Harmon, followed by Mark Feil in the 12th position. Matthew Fraley will start in 13th position, followed by Charles Huffstetler in 14th. Christopher Richards will start in the 15th position, followed by Matthew Gunderson in 16th. Esterversen Oliveira will start in 17th, followed by Andrew Spicer in 18th. Danny Duchesne will start in the 19th position, and David Herbert will round out your top 20.
Ronald McManus starts P21 with Daniel Barnett starting 22nd. Then it's Gary Schilling in 23rd and Phil Gilman in 24th. Alberto Blasco, the first of our drivers that didn't get a time in, starts 28th. John Labath, 25th. Bradley Haley, 26th. And Karsten Quint will start 27th out there today. You can see all the cars now gridding up as we wait for just the last of them to bring out there. A little bit of a smaller field than what we saw at Tsukuba. That should hopefully help out some of the traffic problems that we mentioned. But the lights are up. We've already got a jump starter from 3rd. So as they get off the line, that means that it's going to be a slow start from Kip Stevens. Or excuse me, not Kip Stevens. Michael Overbay actually was the one that jumped there. Down into the first corner they go. Few cars looking at potentially 3 wide. That can be tough, and you can see that sent a few of them off into the grass. So far, nobody's spun out of them. It's relatively safe, but a chaotic start here once again in round 3, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. That was Jefferson Padavani who went off course right now, and he is losing several positions. This is going to put him outside the top 20 by the looks of it right now. He's going to have to battle side by side with Esterversen Oliveira, so he's going to have to hold off and try to gain some positions. But right now, Padavani having a not-so-good start here at Road Atlanta.
That gives the lead to Massalia, who is being followed closely by Gritzko. What a start he got out of all this. Overbay is dropping back slightly and is being chased by Kenny Duval. Not the driver you want to see in your mirrors, that is for sure. already getting little bits of gaps here down the backstretch as they're not quite done with the first lap. That doesn't bode well for the mid-pack, with them having to try and chase down some of these fast drivers up at the front. They hit turns 10 and A and 10B for the first time. Look at the side-by-side action between Mark Feil and Curlin Andrew as Feil moves up into 9th and Andrew has to stay in 10th.
Overbase coming down pit road to serve that penalty on that jump start, but right in front, Gritsko's going to take the lead now over Enzo. Put Gritsko up toward the top as we see Kenny Duval closing in for the battle for P2.
Wow, whatever Duval couldn't get to out of qualifying. Oh, and Fraley seems to have had a problem. So does Eric Luke. Let's see what happened to Fraley here. Whew. A lot of action happening in the opening moments. And Fraley's got a hard hit. We came on just after turn 1, it looks like there. See if we can figure out what... Oh, he got some help. And, you know, that looks like it was Luke that got him.
Yeah, that is a lot of contact to the front nose of that Radical. So as we go to the battle for P2, it is really heating up as we see Kenny Duval is going side by side with Masilia down towards the run, towards turn 10. Let's see if Kenny's going to make a chance. He does. Looks like he's going to complete the pass, but he's going to try to go for Gritsko now. Gets to the right bumper of Gritsko, but Enzo is coming back up onto Duval for that second position. And right behind them in the 4th position, we see Kip Stevens looking on. We got ourselves about a 5-car train for the lead position here, Joe.
This almost looks like Kenny spent more time focusing on his race setup than his qualifying. The way it's reversed fortunes for him. He's made very easy work out of most of the top 10. Already looking at the lead, as you talked about. They do have a bit of a train of cars behind him, though. Masali is still in 3rd. Kip Stevens runs 4th. And Walker Wildridge is 5th. But back in 6th, we got side-by-side action coming together, and another car plows into them. That is Mark Feil. And Charles Huffstetler gets turned around, as well as, who was the yellow car? Andrew. Oh, no.
I think Mark Feil was not happy right there. This is going down to the S is something you do not want to really do. And as we see Andrews making contact right there with Mark Feil, and he's also getting Huffstetler. So Huffstetler again getting involved with someone else's incidents for him. Not a good start.
We had more accidents up towards the front of the field. Andrew Spicer, actually it was 3 separate incidents. Andrew Spicer, Christopher Richards, and Owen McLaughlin all went off in the same corner at the same time out of turn 7, losing multiple positions. What in the world is going on here? We're going to see if we can get the replay. This is Spicer that we're going to watch first. Yeah, here we go through 6, and it was up into 7. There was no contact between the cars that I know of. He goes off, and he's followed by the driver behind, and there's a 3rd car in front of them that spins. Oh, weird.
Just looks like they missed their braking points for the most part there, Joe. That corner is a little bit difficult with trying to how to find your perfect braking zone to try and make the corner, so just looked like he missed his braking.
Well, in all this, Duval has now moved up to the lead. We missed the pass on Gritsko. He is now overtaken the number 28 machine, but the train of cars behind him has not fallen off. About the only one starting to lose touch is 5th place Paul Wildridge. Back down in 8th position, we got Danny Duchesne trying to hold off Owen McLaughlin. McLaughlin, one of the faster drivers at Spa that we saw, and looks like not fast in a straight line as he starts to lose out on Duchesne towards the end of the backstretch.
Danny Duchesne doing a really good job here, able to hold off the California Club driver as they're going under the Suzuki Bridge down towards turn 11 and turn 12. Danny's really doing quite well. He's actually gaining a little bit on the 7th place car of Matthew Gunderson just by a tick. He's about 4/10 back from him, and he's closing a little bit.
I'd say he's done good. He qualified in 19th, and he's sitting in 8th position. So Danny obviously handed a few of these by other cars running into trouble, but you take what you can get in racing. As we ride on board with Gunderson, looking back at that yellow machine, Very similarly painted, with him being teammates to Curlin Andrews, who was our points leader. I don't think he's going to exit today's race as the points leader, though. Duchesne now a little bit under threat from McLaughlin behind, who gains on him through the first half of the lap. Let's see if we see the same thing, if this is going to be another case of just not enough top end on McLaughlin. I wonder if they got different setups here, Taylor.
There might be. He might have it set up to where he's a little bit better on the straightaways, and then McLaughlin might have it a little bit better set for him in the corners. And that's something that a lot of drivers need to figure out, especially at a track like Road Atlanta. It's got those long straightaways, but yet it also has a lot of twists and turns. So you need to kind of figure out what is best for you. Do you want to be fast in the corners, or do you want to be fast on the straightaways? So drivers have to really pick and choose on how to do it. It's very hard to find that perfect medium where you have it set up for both.
Another of the top group has fallen afoul of their own mistakes. Enzo Massalia, you might notice, is now missing from the top 4. He's slipped back to 5th out of the 3rd place. He spun coming out of the chicane. So he has got a lot of work to do to try to run them down. And that's not going to be easy, because up at the top of the screen I saw a flash of purple. Taylor Duval set the fastest lap once again. Oh, and now Overbay's taking it back.
Yeah, Overbay's on a little bit of a redemption run right now, especially after that jump start penalty, and that's a way to do it. Set the fastest lap. As we look at him right now, he's making his run down through the S's. Still a long way to go right now. He's about 34 seconds back from the leader, but closing in on the 19th position.
Now, I believe we have the incident with Padavani on replay, so there's we just saw Overbay overtake another car of McManus. Let's take a glance backwards in time. This is as they're waiting for the green to get going. This is Eric Luke, actually, that we're looking at. There's Padavani. Was it another bad start? Yeah, it just looks like, man, the pole is just cursed in this series, Taylor.
It seems like you do not want to be on pole position, but as you see it goes through turn 1, just gets a little bit loose through that corner and then sends it off. And then you see also another driver go off. I believe that was Eric Luke as well, but he was able to get back on the track quicker compared to Padavani. And there he goes, just losing several positions. He does do the sport and go into the escape road to prevent any other serious incidents.
That probably gave him a harsh slowdown, though, with being on the first lap, so that probably added to his woes. You can see he's still in 22nd. He's actually doing worse than Michael Overbay. Actually, did he come in? I'm seeing him having come in for a stop, so I wonder if he had some sort of damage from that.
Yes, he did make one pit stop by the looks of it of our telemetry, but he's 2 laps down. It's going to be a tough battle for him tonight.
Back to Danny Duchesne. He's not just got McLaughlin to deal with. Charles Huffstetler, currently sitting in the 10th spot, having climbed about 4 from his grid position, is now stuck behind these 2 machines. They come down to complete another lap. We're only 10 minutes into this race. Oh, and Massalia's in the pits. Why is Massalia in the pits? This is way too early, I believe, to be within the pit window, unless it's similar to Tsukuba last week. He's got a little bit of damage on the left front of the car.
Yeah, there is a little bit of damage on that nose of the car. Might be coming in to get a little bit repaired and also maybe try that fuel strategy. Remember, we saw last week, we saw drivers go the full distance without stopping on a tank with a tank of fuel. So maybe just a little bit of early fuel strategy for Enzo as he's coming out, but he's still got a lot of ground to make up as he's going to be dropped inside at least 19th position.
You know what? We had missed, he had actually made contact with Gritsko before his initial spin in the chicane, and that sent Gritsko backwards. I just looked back myself. This is a long time ago, so I doubt we can get a replay. And that's why Gritsko is now in 4th place, which we had missed. But it must have caused enough damage, I'm guessing, that he had to get repairs as we watch Duchesne in his battle continuing on, looking for 7th place, but can't quite get it away from Gunderson. Trying to get 6th place away from Gunderson as they come up over the hill. Huffstetler managed to get by Eric Luke in that.
The driver he was battling, Owen McLaughlin, he's dropped several positions right now. He's in 11th position. He was right behind Danny Duchesne for the 8th position, but Charles Huffstetler now going to try to take a peek to the inside, now to the outside, as they're making the run up towards the S's, turns 4 and 5. That's just such an iconic corner right there, Joe. I mean, you cannot miss that part of the track when watching a race here at Road Atlanta.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. It's so difficult and challenging, but it feels so good when you get it right. So we now ride on board with the likes of Huffstetler, closely following the gearbox of Danny Duchesne. They hit turn 7. Huffstetler way off the apex, but he somehow carries the speed, and this sets himself up great for the draft down the backstretch.
Yes, indeed, utilizing that slipstream, gets right to the back bumper. He's going to try to take a peek to the inside as he goes, as they make the run down towards turn 10. He's going to try to stay side by side with Duchesne and try to complete the pass and outbreak him into turn 10 as they make the run downhill towards turn 10. I think he might complete it before they get in. He does. Now he's got his eyes set on Matthew Gunderson for the 6th position. That 416 Radical is on a rails right now.
And I think there was contact between Duchesne and Huffstetler. Can we get a replay on board Duchesne from that? Because he roughed him up a bit. He almost shoved him off course. See what the onboard shows. From my angle, oh, yeah. Elbows out, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Don't see that really in sports car racing, but here we see it quite often here in the PRL. These drivers are really competitive, really want to fight each other, but at least try to be as respectable as possible. A little bit of a nudge, try to move on down the road for Huffstetler.
As we come back live, the battle has not gone away. Gunderson still leads Huffstetler, but Duchesne is more looking behind than ahead. It's not just Eric Luke challenging him. John LaBath has joined the fray. This all is essentially a fight for 6th place, going back down to 10th position between these 4 cars. They break for the chicane once again. Huffstetler not quite close enough to make an attack. Let's see if he can get the run off the corner, though.
He's trying. He's hitting the curbs as best he can. He's trying to get that little extra grip, but so far not able to close the gap onto Gunderson through out of turn 12 on the front straightaway. Of course, here the short start finish line comes.
We got to go to Kenny Duval. Sorry, Kenny Duval just cut. No, he made a mistake. He spun out. He had a 7-second lead, and he's thrown it away coming through turn 3. Let's look at the replay. It's shades of Spa all over again.
Looking at it right now, it looks like he clipped a little bit too much of that curb that sent the car spinning off. As we see there, yep, just a little bit too much curb and maybe a little bit of the grass as well. So unfortunate for Kenny Duval to just throw it all away.
Well, he hasn't completely thrown it away. He is still within, it looks like about 3 seconds of the leader. And he has been the fastest car out on track, so he could still yet regain this. But Wildridge is now our leader. Kip Stevens finds himself promoted to 2nd place. We're hitting about 30 minutes to go. I believe the pit window should be opening up as we jump back to the battle for 6th. Gunderson's been overtaken by Huffstetler.
A replay of that. That looks like it's been a good battle between these two. We'll go on and watch the replay.
Looks like it happened at the end of the backstretch. Yeah, here we are on the replay. Just got himself a good run. Looks to the inside. And textbook out-braking maneuver. Nice job by Charles.
Yeah, this is the redemption race that he needs to have. And, of course, this is a home track for him for the Club Georgia driver. Doing a really good job for the home crowd here tonight at Road Atlanta.
Currently a little bit still early in the morning here in the virtual world, only 10 a.m. Oh, and Eric Luke finds himself from going from a good run down to 19th. We got the replay. Oh, turn 5 takes another, Taylor.
Oh, yes, indeed, as he's coming out towards turn 5. Just a little bit too loose on the car. This is, especially with that big curbing right there when you're coming off of turn 5, it's just so easy to lose control of the car.
We come back live. Kip Stevens still running in second. Suddenly finds himself having to deal with the number 63 of Kenny Duval. For the second time this race, he has rocked up to the back of the number 15. He's got about a second more to go, but honestly, even if he was about 3 seconds behind, I'd be sweating if I saw Duval in my mirrors.
Tony Duchesne pitting in early. It's a little bit unlike what we saw last week, where he didn't even make a pit stop at Tsukube.
Yeah, it could be that maybe that slight touch that he got on the backstretch caused him a little damage. Let's see if he gets out in a normal amount of time. Yeah, it's not a terribly long pit stop for him, so I guess there wasn't any damage. Maybe just trying something different. Back in 10th place, Mark Feil, who we haven't seen since early on. Seeing if he could do something with Eric Harmon, the 617. Run down the backstretch, but I think Feil's probably a little too far back to try anything here.
Yeah, he's not within the slipstream to close that gap right now on Harmon. But he might be able to have an opportunity off corner exit if he gets a better run off of turn 10. And it looks like Harmon's going to be able to hold them off through this section. No problem at all. They're going to be single file for this section of turn 12. Back to the start-finish line again. Complete another lap. 27 minutes left to go.
And don't blink, because Michael Overbay is starting to gain on them. We've seen he's been one of the faster drivers. As we go to him, we might actually want to go to Kenny Duval for the second time this race. He's had another spin, this time in turn 5. Let's take a look at the replay. We're going to look at it one more time. It looks like the rear of the car just comes around mid-corner.
Yeah, looking at it right there, it seems like he's just going to lose it. I think he got a little bit too much curb, possibly, by the looks of the car. Thankfully, doesn't make any contact with any of the barriers and is able to continue on, but poor Kenny cannot seem to catch a break. Either it'd be a bad start or a spin. Kenny's just bound to gonna have to win one of these races this season.
You would think so, but he's got some things to sort out. He's now down in 4th spot. In fact, he's not too far ahead of this battle for 6th place. Huffstetler and Gunderson still going at it. Oh, as Charles throws it away in turn 3, tries to pull back onto the course as safely as possible, but the positions just slip through his fingers. The number 416 goes from fighting for 6th down to 11th.
He's got to get right in the battle. As we look at the replay, there they're going through turn 1 nice and smooth through there, no problem at all. Turn 2, the same thing, but turn 3, that little bit blind corner, just throws it in there, a little bit too much braking, late on the brakes, and spins it right out. Terrible, unfortunate things for the Georgia Club driver.
I'm a bit surprised at the drivers we're seeing struggling so hard. I know this is a tough track, but it's relatively good conditions, it seems. 84 isn't terribly hot, is it, Taylor?
No, it's not really, as we got a little bit of a battle going on for P3. This is between Christian Gritzko and Kenny Duval.
Looks like Kenny was able to make up one spot there. I think he got by down the backstretch. So easy slipstream move and outbraked him into the final chicane. He's got about 6.5 seconds up to Kip Stevens now. And Stevens, we should point out, has not fallen off of Paul Wildridge. I mean, we haven't really covered this, but Wildridge does have something to worry about other than Kenny Duval trying to get back on him. I think Kip Stevens is a serious threat for this win.
Yeah, well, we saw last time at the first round at Spa, Kip Stevens had a very good balanced car and a fast car as well. Almost took home the victory at Spa, and it seems like here he's got the same possible chance as they're going down into turn 10. Gets a nice smooth line through there, hits the curve at the right times, and gets corner off beautifully. And closing in, he's gained about 2/10 compared to the last time, and closing It's now almost under 0.6 of a second right now to Paul Wildridge.
Obviously putting the pressure on as he closes. If you were Kip Stevens, would you maybe try to pit at this point? Get out of the wake of the car ahead, see if you can out-strategize him instead of out-racing?
That is one of the big things to do, is try to do the exact opposite of what the leader is doing to try to take the lead. So we'll just have to wait and see what Kip Stevens does. As Grisco's off, as well as Kenny Duval by the looks of it. Oh, no.
And this one was in turn 3. 2 separate incidents, basically. Gritsko coming up the lap traffic. Looks like he got a little unnerved and then trying to avoid the spin of him. Kenny Duval. This would be a great view here from above.
Turn 3 takes another victim. Actually, 2 victims this time. It looks like Grisco got the worst of it with a lot of nose damage to the front of that Radical.
Yeah, Duval managed to keep it out of the wall for the 3rd time, I believe it is. I think Duval's now had 3 spins and hasn't hit the wall in any of them as he's trying to fend off Gritsko. But looks like Christian isn't really going to make a serious attempt. He's just going to stay within the wake of Kenny Duval as they come through the chicane. So that is now Duval and and did Duval get a slowdown there?
He might have.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I went back and looked at it, and I think he went way too far inside the first apex there.
And this is bringing in the 5th plate. P6 heating up between Gunderson and Harmon. These two have been going at it right now. It's down to 0.3 of a second. Harmon's got a little bit of a gap right now as they're going through turns 2 and 3. And right behind them, Mark Feil as well is closing in on this battle. So we got ourselves a 3-car battle for the 6th position here, Joe.
To come up through turn 5. Wow, Harmon look a lot more solid through there than Gunderson or Feil as they drop off the back of him. Down to turn 6. Feil takes a peek to the inside, but not a serious go at it. This might be the better corner for it anyways. Coming through turn 7, once again, Gunderson wide at the apex there, but somehow carries the speed down the back stretch. Feil is still going to be within the slipstream. Can he close enough to try and outbrake him into the chicane? He's getting ever closer, but at 0.3 back, I don't think that's going to do it.
No, not this time around. He's going to try again, though. Maybe try going into turn 1, see if he can get a little bit closer. Coming out of turn 11 and 12. Gets closer to the back bumper of that Radical. Here they go down towards the start-finish line. I think Gunderson had a little bit of a better run that time. Mark Feil has to catch up now as they go into turn 1.
Almost look like the wake of the car ahead is making it difficult for him again. Down to 20 minutes left to go. We are well past halfway in today's race. The top 10 have seen their fair share of errors. In fact, many of them are no longer in the top 10 because of it. Up at the top, we got a battle for the lead as Kip Stevens has got to run down the backstretch. He looks to the inside, but he backs out of it curiously. Paul Wildridge holds on for now. It's a lapped car behind him. That's Charles Huffstetler, who got the car going once again and has had his pit stop. Wow, last I looked at Stevens not more than 30 seconds before we switched over to them, and he was a whole second behind. I wonder if there was a mistake from Paul somewhere that we missed.
Could have been a small mistake or a small slowdown, possibly, but a really good job by Kip Stevens, of course, being smart. As that battle for P3 still going on between Gritsko and Kenny Duval down into turn 1. You see the flames popping out of the exhaust pipe of Kenny Duval's Radical on our onboard camera. Gritsko looking, peeking to see if he can maybe close that gap down the S as they go. You got to be a little bit careful this time because they've had a lot of problems going through this section of the track, Joe.
I certainly have. This one looks a little bit smoother between both of them. I'm impressed with Gritsko. It could be that Duval is struggling with something. We don't know. Whatever the case is, the number 28 has been hassling him for a number of laps now and has certainly not dropped away. In fact, he's sitting in a great position as they hit the backstretch again. I wonder if he's going to have another go at
He might utilize a little bit of that slipstream. He may take a peek to the inside, down to turn 10. Down this long straightaway they go. It takes a little bit of time. You're wondering, when is that turn 10 coming? Downhill they go. Gritzko's not taking a peek yet. He's going to just still follow suit. Oh, contact.
Turning around, Kenny Duval spins for the 4th time this time. As you said, it does involve contact. Christian Gritzko finds himself glancing off of him. He keeps going, so it must not be too bad. Watch from Gritzko's view. They say loose is fast, Taylor, but I think Duval has taken that to too much of a, too extreme. All right, that bumps Gritzko back up to 3rd, but if you have thoughts of him potentially winning, they're not likely. He's a whole 16.5 seconds back from the battle for the lead. You can see there's a little bit of damage on the car. Back up front, Stevens on the back of Wildridge. Oh, as Huffstetler wants to unlap himself, and he's going to split them momentarily. Well, that's got to be frustrating.
That's frustrating for Kip Stevens. A lap traffic is trying to, don't get me wrong, Huffstetler has its right to go back and take the lead, get back on the lead lap, but yet it's frustrating for a lead lap driver that's trying to race for position, where you see Huffstetler's trying to also get back on the lead lap to gain time, especially if these two pit. If these two pit and he's in front of these two, that is going to be very good for Huffstetler.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it's in Stevens' best interest to pit now. He's got a few more minutes left before his fuel should run out, and especially I wouldn't want to be behind Huffstetler with the way his car is bobbling in places. Turn 5 looked all out of sorts. Car spinning in front of you will not make the day very fun. We go on board with Kip here.
Right in front of him, Wildridge is also having to negotiate some more lap traffic as well. Just working his way now, getting by some of the lap traffic in front of him before they make the run down towards turn 10. This is a good area to get past lap traffic as well, because it's long straightaway, able to utilize the slipstream and hopefully get to him and pass him before they get to turn 10.
Gary Schilling is now in there. He's actually in a battle with Huffstetler just to complicate things. Wildridge now separated by 2 cars between himself and 2nd place. Seeing who else has taken a scheduled stop. Whoa, no!
Oh, no!
That was Kip Stevens, wasn't it? Yes, it was.
That was.
Oh, my goodness. Schilling looks like he starts to lose the car. He gets tipped around by Huffstetler, and then Stevens is just a completely innocent victim in this.
Nowhere to go for Kip Stevens. We still right on board. This is going into turn 1. As we see there, Schilling get loose, makes a contact with Huffstetler, and boom, Kip Stevens nowhere to go. That's a lot of damage to the nose of that Radical. Let's see if he's able to maybe try and get it back to pit road without a tow.
Nope, I think he's already taken a tow. He's already in there. How many drivers have we now seen basically run into other people's spins? It seems like it's almost a minefield out there. I'd be giving a wide berth to cars ahead. Yeah.
There's a
2 cars coming in. Yeah. Looks like Christopher Richards takes his stop. Kip Stevens, of course, not in for a scheduled pit stop. This promotes Christian Gritzko up to 2nd. Leaves Paul Wildridge without much to sweat about. Could probably back off his pace if that helped him get to the end solidly. I said it'd be unlikely if Gritzko wins, but you know, at this point, I wouldn't put anything past anybody.
Yeah, don't count anything out. We could see anything happen in the next 14 minutes, but this could be a good opportunity for Paul Wildridge to go ahead and make that pit stop if he decides to do that this time by. I mean, he's got a 17-second as Overbay is coming down again pit road. This is going to be his 2nd pit stop.
Well, the first one was a penalty, remember?
Right.
So he's following the likes of Huffstetler, who gets into his stall. think, Overbay might be looking at a top 10 here. This will be an incredible comeback if that's the case. Yeah, Owen McLaughlin is still coming around the final corner. And where's Overbay now? He's coming out. A top 10 is very much doable because he's actually going to be in 9th when he comes back out. Incredible. Oh, and Mark Feil, another one of our top runners. Mark Feil gets spun around all on his own through turn 7. Looks like he already had a little bit of damage on the car.
Just loses a car coming out of turns 8, 7, and 8. Unfortunate for him.
Don't think he lost a position. He's still in 5th, and he's pitting in now. So does Esteverson Oliveira, who we haven't hardly mentioned all race. He's pitting from 4th. Don't need to go to it. I can report that Christopher Richards had a spin all on his own. He gets the car going again.
Currently, right now, at the moment, it is Enzo Massalia who is our highest pitter. And then, of course, John LaBaff as well, that number 911 Radical, doing a really good job as well. The Carolina Club driver. Been very quiet here tonight, but still managed to break inside the top 6. Behind him is Michael Overbay, of course, with Mark Feil, who's starting to slip back out of the top 10 possibly.
Yeah, it looks like he'll return in 9th. Paul Wildridge, our leader, has finally come in. He's not going to be followed by Gritzko, who stays out. There is the Hoosier, who has incredibly started this race in 9th and is looking at a win. Looks like Eric Harmon is also going to come in. So the last cars that we're waiting on pitting are going to be Gritzko, Schilling, and Herbert. So Enzo Massalia. Now, Enzo was one of our early stoppers 17 laps ago. I'm curious to see if he'll be able to get to the end. Wildridge has come in and out. Harmon, who is in his stall right now, takes his scheduled stop. This promotes Massalia up to 3rd position and LaBaff up to 4th. Tell you what, Gritzko's done a good job saving fuel. It's gone a really long time.
26 laps, soon to be 27 now, as he's not going to make another pit stop by the looks of it. Let's see. Oh, I think he's coming in now. There we go. Christian Gritzko, the Canadian club driver, is coming in to complete his first and only pit stop he needs. Making sure he does not speed down there, hits the pit limiter, comes down pit road. Currently about a 21-second lead over Paul Wildridge. As he's coming over the hill under the Suzuki Bridge towards turn 11 and 12, he's going to easily take the lead back from Christian Gritzko.
Bad news for Matthew Gunderson fans. He is now down to 10th place, had an accident in turn 3, hit the wall. He got it going once again. Don't need to get a replay of that as he had to limp the car back to the pavement. There you see the number 33 right now. Let's see, where is Gritzko going to come back out? I think 2nd place should easily be done, although it's not with a huge margin for error. The 155 is looking about 4 seconds back from Gritzko.
Well, with that pit stop, it's back to normal where it was before, about 16 seconds from Paul Wildridge. But, actually 15 seconds now, so he might have gained a second with that pit stop strategy, coming in the lap later than Paul Wildridge, but it's going to be a major incident for Gritzko to get back up to the front.
As we look at 6th place, remember we were watching Harmon during his pit stop. Well, Owen McLaughlin, known fast driver here in this series, currently sits in 7th. He's trying to chase him down. He looks to the inside, down into turn 6. It's not to be quite yet. He seems to have a fair bit of pace, though. I think it's going to be more of a win, not if situation on McLaughlin trying to overtake Harmon.
Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of time before we see McLaughlin decide to take. He's going to utilize a little bit of that slipstream down this back straightaway to close in on that gap of Eric Harmon. He may try to take a peek going into turn 10 right now, still nose to tail between the two drivers. Down to turn 10, he takes a little bit of a peek, but not going to be close enough to try and outbrake him going through the turn 10 chicanes.
It's been a bad day for Matthew Gunderson. Again, don't need to go to it, but he had another spin and another contact with the wall. This time, turn 7. That denotes him yet another position. He's now in 11th. Oh, and something happened to Masalia. Why is Masalia going down the order? Oh, I think he's hit the wall. Let's take a look at the replay. Looks like it came out of turn 1. Oh, right there. Yeah, just caught it. The rear of the car starts going around, and the right side absolutely pancakes.
And that's something that's not going to be easy to repair, especially with how much time is on the clock with 8 minutes left to go. This is not going to be what Masalia wanted. As we see him there, he gets real loose going into turn 1. Turn 1 may seem like an easy corner, but it is very light through that section of the track. You have to be so careful with your throttle input and steering input, otherwise you will end up like we see with Enzo.
So we check on third place. Overbay has now caught LaBath. He's gotten past Harmon when we weren't looking. Overbay is sizing up a potential podium here after he took a penalty, after he took a stop and go. Just incredible.
This is what I call a comeback of the race today. I mean, as we see another car off, I need to go to that, but Michael Overbay, really great job here today. The Club Ohio driver putting on the drive, I would say probably going to be for the season so far. I mean, jumping the start, having to come down pit road, going all the way to the tail end of the field, and then making this aggressive but yet beautiful run. And he could be possibly, if he can get by John LaBath, a podium finish.
I almost wish we had been watching him more, because he's clearly had to make a few overtakes along the way. Now, this has been helped somewhat. Here's an incredible stat for you. There's only 10 cars left on the lead lap out of our 28 starters. And out of all the cars that started, I think we have all of 15 still running, so barely half the field. Meanwhile, we take a look at 5th place, Eric Harmon and Owen McLaughlin. Excuse me, I said it was Overbay that got past Harmon. It was McLaughlin we were watching earlier. Still fighting for that top 5 position with 6 minutes to go.
McLaughlin did it late on the brakes yet, right? Closing in on the back bumper of Harmon for that 5th position, but it looks like Harmon's going to pull away, though, coming off at turn 10. That 617 car is really putting on a good defensive drive over the 5 of McLaughlin. Coming out of turn 12 down the front straightaway they go. McLaughlin's closing in a little bit more as they go into turn 1, but not close enough to make a passing opportunity. If he goes a little bit off track, he's got to get it back on track now in order to prevent himself from spinning out, but that was a very beautiful job of a save for McLaughlin.
Yeah, that could have been so much worse in turn 1. I've seen drivers wind up with a lot more damage from errors like that. It does set him backwards from the likes of Harmon, but only temporarily. Credit to the 617 for withstanding this pressure. We haven't missed a pass for 3rd quite yet. Overbay is still trying to chase down LaBath. As we take a look at that, he's been hovering at about a half second behind the 911.
Give it to John LaBath. I mean, he was starting towards the back of the pack, but he worked his way up, and now we see right now Overbay is going to look to the inside into turn 10. He's going to try to outbrake him, and he makes the pass. John LaBath tries to come back on him, but I think it's going to be Overbay to P3. Just stunning
the way that Overbay has driven this. LaBath is going to take a look around the outside as a defensive move from the likes of Overbay down into turn 1. Is going to switch it back on the way out. He cuts him off, though. Looks like LaBath is going to have to maybe regroup and try again another time. But yeah, a number of drivers who have had incredible runs forward. mentioned LeBaf having started 25th. Granted, LeBaf did not get a qualifying time in. He does get a good run off of turn 5 here. Another defensive move up to turn 6 from Michael Overbay. He's not willing to give up this podium after how hard he's worked, but he's going to have to work harder around the outside. John LeBaf slides it through turn 7, doesn't lose the car. My goodness.
That is what we call a power move, ladies and gentlemen. On the outside, but not over yet. Michael Overbay looks to the inside, down the back straightaway, tries to make a slipstream slingshot around John LeBaf and see if he's going to outbreak him down into turn 10 as they go through turn 8 and 9. Down this back straightaway, he's going to be able to complete the pass before they even get to turn 10. Michael Overbay moves back into P3.
And LeBaf had to catch the car coming through the second half of the chicane. That loses him some time. Wonder if that is the critical error that might drop him back from Michael Overbay. If you're just joining us, the reason we are so stunned and hyped on this battle, both of these drivers have had to climb their way through almost the entire field. LeBaf for failing to qualify, and Overbay for getting a penalty for a jump start. These guys deserve so much credit. There you see LeBaf's stats. And unfortunately, the downside, even though he's now battling for a podium, as he takes another look down to 6, he's about 30 seconds behind our leader. So neither of these drivers looking likely to take a win.
No, but for these drivers, this is almost just as good as a win, especially for these two drivers, as now LeBaf's going to try to utilize the same maneuver that Overbay did to him the previous lap. Try to utilize the slipstream, not able to close enough, though. About 3/10 back from Overbay. Down the back straightaway they go. You see on board, closing in little bit by little bit. He's going to maybe take a peek to the inside into turn 10. No, just follow suit with Overbay and try to get a better run off corner exit of turn 10. As you see, the car gets a little bit loose now and loses a little bit of time to Overbay.
It's the second time in the chicane we've seen LeBaf get kind of squirrely. I wonder if he's overdriving that car a little bit through that section. Whatever the case, he's still within reach of Michael, and I think this is going to go all the way down to the wire. They hit turn 3 once again. John LeBaf just stalking the likes of Overbay. You're not missing anything up front. It's a whole 13 seconds between Gritskull and Wildridge. So unless one of them has an accident, those positions are not likely to change. We'll stay with this until our leader comes to the line.
That's one thing you gotta be careful when you're battling for position, especially if you're the chaser. You feel so eager to go for that position. You want to push the car to get by, but yet you have to show patience as well, and knowing when to make that opportune pass, or to wait and see if that driver you're chasing makes a mistake. I know in my experience racing cars, whether it be the Radicals or any car, I've made that mistake of where you over push the car when trying to get by a car, and I think a lot of us here have done that same mistake as well.
Oh, I know I have. It's why I do not consider myself a great driver by any stretch. As they come through the chicane, once again, Overbay still leading in third place. John LeBaf wanting it as well. And I'm wondering if LeBaf is even aware that he had that penalty, that Overbay had to come back through. Both are probably thinking how hungry they are for this third position, and not even considering the other has just as much of a carrot ahead on the stick to try and get that final spot. 30 seconds left, so looks like Paul Wildridge will get the white flag this time by.
And let's not forget about Wildridge. He's had a really good drive as well. Started in 9th position and was able to get the lead and able to keep the lead after so much of the course, our main front runners having very serious issues. So got to give Paul Wildridge a really good round of applause for what he's been able to do.
Now, I'll have to check my stats, but wasn't our winner in round 1, Andrew, didn't he qualify in 9th and won the race?
I believe it was at least 7th. It was in the
Might have been
10.
7th, yeah. I think you're right. Regardless, man, bizarre circumstances between the first and third race here. We're watching the white flag now reach Overbay and LeBaf. The battle starting to close in for 5th as well between Harmon and McLaughlin. Eyes have to be everywhere at this point. Up and through turn 1. Wildridge now on the backstretch. Has all 3 corners to go. Down to brake, into turn 10, into the final chicane. What a magnificent drive. This is one he ought to be proud of. The number 67 accelerates smoothly up and over the hill and takes the win in round 3. Yet another surprise winner in this topsy-turvy season for the PRL American iRacing Thursday Series. Third place still up for grabs. Gritzko will get second, but Overbay trying to hold off LeBaff. He goes all the way down to the inside, comes back to the racing line, tries to force him the long way around. They almost come together. LeBaff gets elbowed out, but Michael Overbay looks like he's going to be able to take third away with a little bit of force and some hard driving. And unfortunately, it looks like McLaughlin made a mistake as Harmon will take 5th. Not sure what happened to Owen there. He'll get 6th place, which is no mean feat considering how much trouble drivers have had this race. Mark File, the 777 in 7th appropriately. And we have very few cars left on the lead lap, as I mentioned before, only 10. Christopher Richards going to be the last car to finish there. That's something to be proud of in this series, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Just finishing a race here in this series is always a big plus here, especially with all the carnage we saw here today at Road Atlanta. So a very big congratulations to Christopher Richards for breaking that top 10. The 49 Club Midwest driver doing a really good job keeping out of trouble and not a whole lot of damage, or if not any damage, to the nose or that car of that Radical.
And that's going to take us to the break here on the Global SimRacing Channel, but we're going to be back because we have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews waiting for you after you see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta here in Brazelton, Georgia. We just watched round 3 of the PRL's American iRacing Thursday series, if I can get the words out for that one. In the end, we had our third unexpected winner in a row, Paul Wildridge, this time winning from all the way back in 9th place. He kept the car together where everybody around him seemed to be struggling. Christian Gritzko, have to admit, qualified 4th and finishing 2nd, did a pretty good job of keeping himself in the mix. Overbay looks the same, having started 3rd and finished 3rd, but keep in mind he had that penalty at the start for jumping the start, the green flag, and had to come in to the pits for a stop and hold, and then got back out and climbed all the way back up. John LaBaff didn't get a qualifying time in, so he went from 25th on the grid all the way to 4th. Eric Harmon as well, can't downplay his effort, 11th to 5th. Owen McLaughlin in 8th, going from 8th place to 6th place. And then Mark Feil as well from 12th to 7th. A lot of these drivers making positive results here in this race. Esteverson Oliveira finishes 8th, having started 17th. How about this one? 26th for Bradley Harley, down to 9th. And then Christopher Richards from 15th to 10th. Taylor?
Coming home in the 11th position, Kenny Duval, who's had not that best night here today, followed by David Herbert in the 12th position. Jefferson Padavani, another good driver who had a not-so-good finish. He will come home in the 13th position, followed by Daniel Barnett in 14th. Gary Schillings comes home in 15th position, followed by Enzo Masalia in 16th. Matthew Gunderson will come home in 17th position, followed by Ronald McManus in 18th. Kip Steven, another driver who had a rough night here tonight, and Charles Huffstetler will round out your top 20.
21st is going to be Danny Duchesne. He looked like he could have had a great finish, but it was not to be. 22nd went to Andrew Spicer. Then it's Eric Luke in 23rd with Karsten Quint 24th. Curlin Andrew, this is going to be the end of his time at the front of the points, I believe. 25th for him. Matthew Fraley, 26th. Phil Gilman, 27th. And the last of our drivers, I think a DNS actually for Alberto Blasco here today. And with that, we have our winner ready to talk to us, Paul Wildridge, who started from 9th place and wound up in 1st. Paul, we were playing up at the start of this broadcast how we had 2 surprise winners in the first 2 unpredictable rounds, and it seems like the trend continues.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. It was a little sketchy the first couple laps, but it was really a good race.
Now, at what point did you feel like the win is possible here? Did you doubt it all the way to the line, or did you feel pretty confident early on the way through?
When I was running P5, I felt maybe there was a chance, but I thought I'd have to get around some people. Had some good racing with Kip. I think he got held up by traffic or something. Just kind of surprised that I took the win. There were some fast guys in front.
There absolutely were. Now, what do you think is the reason we saw so many drivers struggle today? Is it just this combination of the car and the track together, or was the weather particularly tough? We were kind of surprised.
Yeah, the track is pretty tough to stay straight for 45 laps. I had a couple of mistakes myself. My rear tires went off towards the end, but I think it just was the track, along with the temperatures really rise throughout the race.
Well, that's true that we forgot about the fact that the temperatures would probably go a little bit up throughout, but that's a win under your belt, of course. So now that that's done, what are your goals for the rest of the season?
Win it all. Just kidding. Just stay consistent and try to keep bringing up some points for our team and also win the Drivers' Championship.
Well, yep. Team championship, of course, always important as well. Can always rack those up without taking the wins. But congratulations on getting a P1 today. Go enjoy some champagne, sir.
Thank you, sure. And just a shout out to Chris, Owen, Tyler, Matt, and Dave. They're good guys to work with, and Owen for the setup. Thanks.
That was Paul Wildridge, your winner here today, who did a magnificent drive from 9th to 1st. Christian Gritzko finished behind him in 2nd. Taylor's caught up with him.
Yes, indeed. Here with Christian Gritzko. Christian, really great effort here today. Tell us how the car was and how you were able to just manage to get through all of the interesting incidents that happened in the early start of the race.
Well, my car was very planted. I used a high downforce setup for this race, and it really helped me through the turns. But on the slower turns, obviously, it was a little bit more loose for me, and I just kind of had to remind myself that I'm running on cold tires. I need to be gentle on the throttle because I have a heavy foot, as you saw in the last races. So just reminding myself really got me through the first few laps.
It most certainly did. Tell us, were there any chance that you might have felt like you could have maybe challenged if you had a little bit of time or a little bit closer to our leader? Would you have been able to maybe challenge and maybe even take that win?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of unfortunate events, and then I had a couple of fortunate times where people in front of me would be messing up, so then I would pass them. But, I got bunted from behind early in the race. I spun out a couple times, and even when I went into the pits, I forgot to turn off my limiter coming out of it, and I did overfuel my car. So I feel like if less incidents happened and I had a good pit run, I probably would have had a good run for first place.
Understand. Yeah, you got to be careful with those pit stop strategies and calls, otherwise that could cost you. But still, Christian, really great effort with the second place finish today. What are you looking most forward to as we continue on with the season?
I'm just hoping to keep my consistency up and continue to be a competitor. I didn't have a really good start for the beginning of the season, but hopefully I can turn that around at this point and continue to be a podium finisher for the rest of the season.
Well, we look forward to watching you the rest of the season, Christian. Again, congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you very much, guys.
That was Christian Gritzko. And Joe, you caught up with, I would say, one of the drivers of today's race, Mr. Michael Overbay.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Michael, if you need a seat from that whirlwind drive, don't worry, we've got a chair in here in the booth. But gosh, tell us about that. We were stunned when we realized a podium was on the cards for you.
I was a little stunned myself, but I knew I had a fast car, but man, I just blew it at that start. My clutch was bad. Something happened to my clutch. I pressed it in and it took off. So I had hit the brakes and that just screwed everything up and just come back from that. But thank goodness the car was fast and was able to make a way back up through the field a little bit.
Now, I would ask if you had settled your pace on this one to try and survive while everybody else around you faltered. But there was a few times I was seeing you setting fastest lap. It looked like you were hustling.
Yeah, I was pushing it because I knew I had a shot at the podium if I pushed it. And then I lit up my tires. So the last 6 laps, I had no tires left, and I did everything I could to hold off John. And congratulations to him. He raced me so clean, and I really appreciate that. I know we had a great little battle there for third. That was a blast.
It certainly gave us a lot of excitement to watch in the dying stages. Now, I guess the good news for you and the bad news for some of your other competitors is that looking at the results of this race and looking at the points, I think you might actually take the points lead after today, probably even more unexpected after that start of the race. So knowing that, what do you do looking forward?
Oh, wow. I wouldn't even realize that. I wouldn't even thought that. But, I'm going to push. I'm just going to push every race, that's all I can do. I figured best way to finish is finish.
Well, we look forward to seeing you try to get your first win of the season so far. A little bit of luck seemed to
I won last week.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. See, this is what happens when I don't look at my stats before I say something. So second week then in that case, or second win in that case.
No problem, man.
Speaking of which, going to Suzuka next week, going to be very different to this track, I would think, with the amount of technicality and a much longer lap time. Do you have any fears going forward there?
Suzuka's a great track for me, but it's going to be tough it's going to come down to setup, I think, at that track for this car. It's going to be a lot of setup on that, so I hope people get a lot of testing in, otherwise you're going to have a lot of spin.
Oof. If today wasn't a lot of spins, I can't imagine what Suzuka is going to be like. So congratulations on a podium. We look forward to seeing you again.
Hey, thanks a lot. Great job on your guys' broadcast, and congratulations to my teammate for the pole. Thanks.
That was Michael Overbay, who apparently I have a goldfish memory tonight because he had a win and now a podium here back to back. So with that, we are going to say goodbye for tonight. Before we do, a big thank you goes to HFD1 Motorsports once again for sponsoring this season. As well, we want to thank the Precision Racing League, and we want to thank the iRacing eSports Network for bringing us on for this season, getting to be on iRacing's official channel. And I think these guys are proving why this series needs to be on there. I have enjoyed the hell out of these races. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekbom and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_RAM. Heading back over to Japan. Boy, it's a good thing they don't have to take a plane for these. Thursday, January 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. 1 week from today is when we're going to see the next race. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.